What is FIBO? FIBO stands for the Financial Industry Business Ontology. We chose that name because we wanted to be very clear what sort of thing it was. There are a lot of semantic technology applications which of course use ontologies, and so to many more technical people the word ontology applies a particular application, but we've used the principles of ontology to create a full and factual representation of business facts, business terms and definitions without reference to any application, a pure business model as a point of reference for applications, including semantic and other applications. And so we wanted to make it clear that it's a business ontology, so hence the term Financial Industry Business Ontology. Right, the challenges and successes. So the biggest challenges have been that for a long time FIBO has been all things to all people. It's been a bit of a blind man's elephant. And so to the semantic technology people, it's this wonderful piece of technology, and then there are some misunderstandings when they want something that you can reason over or do other semantic tech applications. And so we've managed to articulate this distinction between a business ontology at the level of business concepts and particular applications. So that's been an interesting challenge. Another challenge has been from a governance point of view, from an IT governance point of view. Some firms, as a matter of course, have well-rounded, mature development processes which give you, top-down development of technical assets and so on. And a necessary part of that is having a business-level formal model, a conceptual model. Other businesses don't have that, and so then we get this blank reaction. A, what do you mean by a conceptual model? Or B, where does the data go? Or this thing can't be any use if I can't see where the data goes. And so getting people to understand the value of something as a conceptual model has been quite a challenge. But I think we're getting there. So the successes we've found is, I think, a couple of things. Putting it to work, taking small sections out of FIBO, creating semantic technology applications, what we call operational ontologies. We've done one for interest rate derivatives. We've shown that you can ingest wire level terms from a physical message schema called FPML for derivatives, and ingest that into an application that uses the semantics in FIBO to provide automatic classification. So you can take the derivative confirmation messages on the wire and use the technology to automatically say, is this a fixed float interest rate swap or a basis swap, and so on. So that's been a very solid demonstration of something we can do, and we've been showing that to various people, and that's always been very well received, and it's shown people that here is a practical application that comes out of having FIBO. And the other thing I think has just been when we get those aha moments when we're trying to unravel the legal and business nature of things themselves, so commitments and transactions and obligations and so on. And when we start to be able to put together the concepts as they really are, we get these aha moments of realization when you find yourself looking at a definition of the problem space. So in business entities, the LEI project has been going on for some time now, all about identifying something, but what is the thing? What is the formal definition of legal entity? And we've been through several iterations, but each thing that it could stand for, we've been able to model in FIBO in terms of real concepts and say, is this it? And it's like, oh no, that's not it, because we also need to have an identifier for things that are not legal persons, like trusts and so on. And eventually, with a bit of philosophical footwork in the FIBO modeling arrangements, we've got this aha moment that lets us define what a legal entity is in terms of the context of somebody recognizing something as the kind of entity that you can have a contractual relationship with, and by making that a context-specific definition, which relies on the very high-level semantics of FIBO, it doesn't require any syntax, it's just how the meaning is set up, that then gave us visibility of the question, but not the answer necessarily, of extraterritoriality, for example. So what do you do when somebody in one jurisdiction has a need to allocate a legal entity identifier to an entity in some other jurisdiction, and just seeing a model which describes that question. It doesn't give you the answers, of course, that's not what an ontology is for, but it allows you to see the question right there on the page. So those kind of aha moments have been very useful, I think.
Excellent.
Right, how will FIRO and FIBO interact? And
if that's too technical, skip to the second one.
Sure, with the second one being how can we, what advice can we give? Well, I think the interesting difference I've noticed with FIRO is, for very good reasons, they're modelling using a standard called SBVR, Semantics for Business Vocabulary and Business Rules, which is a very explicitly business-facing standard. That's helped them to avoid all the kind of tensions that I described of how we've been creating models at the same level but using the semantic web notation. And it gives you a lot more power to express things like higher orders of logic, like the logic of rules and requirements and so on, the logic of regulatory requirements and obligations and so on, which SBVR is very good at. So I think what we're all struggling with is finding some single modelling framework that lets you firstly integrate the basic semantics of things and facts like we have in FIBO, the semantics of business rules and so on that you have in SBVR and that FIRO is doing, the formal expression of different kinds of rules, and again the business level, conceptual level expression of business process. There are very good languages for each of those things. Getting all of those into one place is something I think we'd all like to see. And secondly, being able to present those different models of business concepts to a business audience for validation. So this is something the semantic web hasn't got that far with, although there are some very good tools coming out now for visualizing ontologies. Being able to visualize business rules is a bit harder, but with a bit of imagination, we believe it can be done. On FIBO, we're moving our ontology work to a new interface that we believe will give us better expressivity to a business audience. But again, it's being written by people who are used to dealing with a technical audience, so we need to provide a lot of guidance. That's something I'd like to see us and the FIRO folks work together on, is, you know, seeing that bigger picture and putting it all together. Because FIBO is one component, it's the static definition of facts and things, so the ontology side. And that is a basis for then having rules that refer to those concepts and so on. Now SBVR has an ability to represent those kinds of concepts as well, but it'd be nice to get it all in one thing. But I'm very excited about where FIRO is going and how they can how they're looking at those other layers that we're not looking at in FIBO. And I think the FIBO is a valid and a useful point of reference for them to make reference to the semantics of securities and derivatives and business entities and so on.